Captain Jake stood on the bridge of the Aurora and watched the stars drift past the main viewing screen. 3 months into humanity's first deep space mission beyond the system, he still felt amazed by what they had achieved. Just 50 years ago, humans could barely reach their own moon. Now they traveled between star systems using quantum tunnel drives that bent space itself. "Captain, we're approaching the 442 system," said Ben Carter from his position at the communications console. The young officer had volunteered for this mission knowing he might never see Earth again. Like everyone aboard the Aurora, he believed exploration was worth the risk. "Take us in slowly, Ben. Let's see what we can find out here." Jake turned to look at his small crew. Dr. Lisa Hayes worked at the science station, her dark hair pulled back as she studied sensor readings. Amy sat at the engineering console, keeping watch over their revolutionary drive systems. 22 people in total, representing the best humanity had to offer. The Aurora moved deeper into the system. Their sensors showed 5 planets orbiting the orange star. The third planet caught everyone's attention immediately. It was almost exactly like Earth in size and distance from its sun. "Captain, I'm reading an atmosphere with oxygen and nitrogen," Dr. Hayes called out. "There's water on the surface, lots of it. This planet could support human life." Jake nodded. "Any signs of civilization?" "I'm not sure yet. The readings are strange. There are large structures on the surface, but they don't look like anything we've seen before." As they moved closer to the planet, Ben Carter suddenly straightened at his station. "Captain, I'm picking up a signal." "What kind of signal?" "It's artificial, definitely not natural. It keeps repeating every few minutes." Ben adjusted his controls, and strange musical tones filled the bridge. The sound was beautiful but haunting, like a song played on instruments no human had ever heard. Dr. Hayes moved to Ben's station and listened carefully. "Play it again," she said. After hearing it 3 more times, her eyes widened. "This isn't just music. There's a mathematical pattern hidden in the harmonics." "Can you decode it?" "Give me some time. This is unlike anything in our databases." Jake ordered the Aurora into a stable orbit around the planet while Dr. Hayes worked on the signal. Through the viewing screen, they could see the mysterious structures she had detected. They looked like giant crystals growing from the ground, some reaching several miles into the sky. They were beautiful and clearly not natural. "Captain, you need to hear this," Dr. Hayes said after 2 hours of work. Her voice was quiet and serious. "What did you find?" "I've translated the mathematical sequence into our language. The message is simple, but the implications are terrifying." She pressed a button, and a computer voice spoke the decoded words. "Help us, the Devourers come. We cannot fight. We cannot flee. Help us." The bridge fell silent. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. "Are you certain about the translation?" "I've checked it 5 times. There's more. The signal includes coordinates for this planet and some kind of countdown. Based on the mathematical progression, I estimate they have about 6 months before whatever they're afraid of arrives here." Ben Carter spoke up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting massive life signs on the planet. The readings suggest billions of intelligent beings down there." Jake stared at the planet on the screen. Humanity had dreamed of finding intelligent alien life for centuries. Now they had found it, and it was crying for help. He thought about his orders from Earth Command to explore and report back. He was supposed to avoid any contact with alien civilizations until humanity was better prepared. But billions of lives were at stake. "Dr. Hayes, do we have any idea what these Devourers are?" "Nothing concrete, but the way the message is structured suggests this isn't the first time it's been sent. The mathematical patterns indicate this same signal has been transmitted from multiple locations across the galaxy over thousands of years." "Other worlds asking for help?" "That's my best guess. And Captain, I've been monitoring our communications array. This signal is incredibly powerful. It's being broadcast across dozens of star systems. Someone down there really wants to be heard. Amy looked up from her engineering station. Captain, our quantum drives are functioning perfectly. We could return to Earth in 3 weeks and report this to command. They could organize a proper first contact mission. Jake knew she was right. The safe choice was to go home and let others make these decisions. But something about the desperate repetition of that signal made him hesitate. How many times had it been broadcast into empty space, hoping someone would hear and care enough to respond? Ben, try to trace the origin point of the signal on the planet's surface. Already working on it, sir. The signal is coming from one of the larger crystal structures on the main continent. Jake made his decision. Take us down to the edge of the atmosphere, full scanning mode. I want to know everything about this planet and the beings living on it before I decide our next move. Dr. Hayes looked worried. Captain, first contact protocols state that we should observe from a safe distance and report back to Earth before making any direct contact. I know the protocols, Doctor, but those protocols were written by people who never heard an entire civilization begging for help. Jake moved to the center of the bridge. If we leave now and return with a fleet in 6 months, we might find nothing but empty cities and silent crystal towers. As the Aurora descended toward the alien world, Jake wondered if he was making the right choice. He was about to change the course of human history. Either he would be remembered as the captain who made humanity's first contact with alien life, or as the fool who got his crew killed trying to save strangers from an unknown threat. The planet grew larger on the screen, and the desperate signal continued its endless repetition, calling across the void for someone to answer. The Aurora landed in a clearing near one of the massive crystal structures. Jake checked his equipment one final time before stepping onto an alien world. Dr. Lisa Hayes and Ben Carter would accompany him, while Amy stayed aboard to monitor their ship and maintain communication with the landing party. The air was breathable, just as their sensors had indicated. Jake took his first breath of alien atmosphere and found it surprisingly pleasant, with a sweet scent like flowers mixed with ocean air. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel almost bouncing. The crystal structure is about half a mile ahead, Dr. Hayes said, checking her scanner. I'm reading incredible energy patterns from it. Whatever these beings are, they've mastered energy manipulation far beyond our current technology. As they walked toward the towering crystal, Jake noticed movement in the distance. Tall, graceful figures seemed to glide rather than walk across the landscape. They appeared to be coming toward the landing party. Contact approaching from multiple directions, Ben Carter reported, his hand resting nervously on his sidearm. They don't seem hostile, but there are a lot of them. The first alien came into clear view, and all 3 humans stopped walking. The being stood nearly 8 feet tall, with pale, translucent skin that seemed to glow with soft inner light. Its features were elegant and delicate, with large eyes that held depths of wisdom and sadness. It wore flowing robes that moved without any wind. The alien stopped about 10 feet away and tilted its head, studying the humans with obvious curiosity. Then, without warning, a voice spoke directly inside Dr. Hayes' mind. Welcome, beings from distant stars. I am called Zephyr. We have waited so long for someone to answer our call. Dr. Hayes gasped and grabbed Jake's arm. Captain, it's speaking to me telepathically. I can hear its voice in my head. What is it saying? It says its name is Zephyr, and they've been waiting for someone to answer their signal. Dr. Hayes looked at the alien with wonder. I think I can respond the same way. Let me try. She concentrated hard, thinking her words as clearly as possible. We are humans from the planet Earth. We heard your message and came to help if we can. Zephyr's large eyes seemed to brighten with hope. The telepathic voice returned, now tinged with excitement. Humans, we have never encountered your species. You came because we asked for help. Yes, we want to understand what threatens you. More aliens appeared from all directions, surrounding the humans but keeping a respectful distance. They all had the same ethereal appearance as Zephyr, though some were shorter and others taller. Jake counted at least 50 beings watching them with mixture of hope and desperate curiosity. Come, Zephyr said through Dr. Hayes. I will show you what we face, but prepare yourselves. What you will learn may disturb you greatly. Zephyr led them to the base of the crystal structure. Up close, Jake could see that it wasn't just decorative. Complex patterns of light moved through the crystal like flowing water, and he could feel energy humming in the air around it. This is a memory keeper, Dr. Hayes translated as Zephyr communicated. They store their history and knowledge in these crystals. Zephyr placed one long, delicate hand on the crystal surface. Immediately, images began forming in the minds of all three humans. They saw space, vast and empty, then a fleet of dark, geometric ships moving between stars like a plague of locusts. The images showed world after world falling to these ships, not destroyed but harvested. The ships would arrive, deploy massive collection devices, and strip every trace of organic life from entire planets. Plants, animals, intelligent beings, everything living was consumed and processed into fuel for the Dark Fleet. The Devourers, Dr. Hayes whispered, speaking Zephyr's thoughts aloud. They have moved through our galaxy for millions of years. Every few thousand years, they sweep through a region of space, consuming all life they find. The crystal showed more images. Dozens of different alien species, all sending out desperate calls for help as the Devourer fleet approached their worlds. The humans watched as civilization after civilization fell silent, their planets left as barren rocks drifting in space. How many species have asked for help? Jake asked through Dr. Hayes. Hundreds, came the reply. We have detected their signals across the galaxy, always the same pattern. First the call for help, then silence. Ben Carter looked sick. Has anyone ever responded to these calls? Zephyr's sadness deepened. 17 species have received our message. All sent the same response. They said they could not help, that we should save ourselves if possible. Jake felt anger building in his chest. 17 different civilizations had heard the cry for help and chosen to ignore it. They had left entire worlds to die rather than risk themselves for strangers. Tell me about your people, Jake said. What are your capabilities? What resources do you have? Through the crystal memory keeper, Zephyr showed them civilization. The beings were incredibly advanced in many ways. They could manipulate energy directly, communicate across vast distances through thought, and had mastered the secrets of their planet's ecosystem. But they had never known war, violence, or even the concept of deliberately harming another living being. We are peaceful by nature, Dr. Hayes translated. Violence is completely foreign to our understanding. We have never built weapons or trained for battle. We know only how to create and nurture life. Jake began to understand the terrible irony. They were advanced enough to detect the approaching threat and send signals across the galaxy, but they were psychologically incapable of defending themselves. They were like children facing monsters. How long until the Devourers arrive? He asked. Our calculations show approximately 5 months and 20 days. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Dr. Hayes, tell Zephyr that humanity will help them. We're going to send word back to Earth immediately and organize a defense. Dr. Hayes translated, and Zephyr's glow brightened considerably. You would do this. Risk your own people for beings you have just met. That's what humans do, Jake said simply. When someone calls for help, we answer. Ben Carter was already working on boosting their communications array with technology. Captain, I can get a message back to Earth in 2 weeks using their energy amplification systems. Jake nodded. Send everything. All our sensor data, the translation of their language, and a complete report on the Devourer threat. Tell Earth Command that we're staying here to help coordinate the defense." Amy's voice crackled over their communicators from the Aurora. "Captain, are you sure about this? We'd be stranded here if something goes wrong." Jake looked around at the dozens of watching them with newfound hope in their ancient eyes. These beings had been abandoned by everyone else in the galaxy, but they hadn't been abandoned by humanity. "We're sure, Amy. Send the message. It's time for Earth to know they're not alone in the universe, and that being human means something special among the stars." Amy piloted the Aurora away from the 3 days after first contact. Her mission was simple but crucial. She had to reach Earth and convince world leaders that humanity needed to mount the largest rescue operation in their history for people they had never met. The journey back to Earth took 18 days using the quantum tunnel drive at maximum speed. Amy spent the time preparing her presentation and wondering if anyone would believe what she had to report. When she finally reached Earth's orbit, she transmitted an emergency code that hadn't been used in over 30 years. President Helen Murphy was in a budget meeting when her security chief burst into the room. "Madam President, we have a priority alpha communication from the Aurora mission. Captain is requesting immediate contact with world leaders." 20 minutes later, Amy found herself in a video conference with the leaders of every major nation on Earth. She told them everything. Though the Devourers, the desperate plea for help, and Captain's decision to stay behind. "Let me understand this correctly," said the Chinese premier. "You want us to send our entire space fleet to help aliens we've never met fight an enemy we know nothing about?" "With respect, sir, that's exactly what I'm asking," Amy replied. "The Devourers have wiped out hundreds of civilizations. If we don't stop them at the world, they'll keep moving through the galaxy. Eventually, they'll reach Earth." The Russian president leaned forward. "How do we know these are telling the truth? Perhaps this is some kind of trap." Amy had expected this question. She played recordings from the crystal memory keepers, showing the destruction of world after world. The images spoke for themselves. Even the most skeptical leaders fell silent as they watched entire civilizations disappear. President Murphy spoke for all of them. "What do you need from us?" Within 24 hours, something unprecedented happened. Every nation on Earth agreed to contribute to the rescue mission. Old enemies became allies. Countries that hadn't spoken to each other in years suddenly worked together. General Frank Stone, a veteran of 3 wars, was put in command of ground operations. Admiral Kate, the youngest admiral in history, took control of the space fleet. Dr. Richard Vail, Earth's leading physicist, was given unlimited resources and a team of the world's best scientists. His job was simple but nearly impossible. Take human weapons technology and make it effective against an enemy that had been perfecting warfare for millions of years. "The problem is scale," Dr. Vail explained to his team. "Our biggest warships are toys compared to what the Devourers field. We need to think differently." Dr. Susan, his top assistant, suggested studying the energy manipulation techniques. "Maybe we can combine their abilities with our weapons technology." Meanwhile, Captain worked closely with Zephyr and other leaders. Ben Carter had established communication links with dozens of planets across the galaxy, turning the peaceful world into a coordination center for what might be the galaxy's last stand. "The other species are watching," Ben reported too. "They're not helping, but they're definitely paying attention. Some of them seem surprised that we're actually doing this." Dr. Hayes made the breakthrough that changed everything. Working with a scientist named Resonance, she discovered that the Devourers had a critical weakness. Their mechanical nature made them vulnerable to specific sound frequencies, but only if those frequencies were amplified through psychic energy. "They can generate the right frequencies," Dr. Hayes explained to over their communication link with Earth. "But they can't make them into weapons because they don't understand aggression. They literally cannot think in terms of harming another being." What about humans working with them? That's the key. If we can teach them to channel human emotional responses through their psychic abilities, we might be able to create weapons that can actually hurt the devourers. The idea was tested when Admiral's fleet arrived at the world. 12 ships carried Earth's best pilots, soldiers, and scientists. It wasn't much compared to the Devourer fleet, but it was everything humanity could spare. Admiral met with Captain and the leaders in the largest crystal chamber. "We have 4 months to prepare. What's our situation?" Gave her the hard truth. "We're outnumbered and facing an enemy with millions of years of experience, but we have 2 advantages they've never encountered before." Which are? First, humans and working together can create hybrid weapons they won't expect. Second, we're the first people in galactic history who chose to fight for strangers instead of running away. The preparation began immediately. Human engineers worked with energy specialists to create new types of weapons. Soldiers trained alongside peaceful beings who had never seen violence, teaching them the concept of protective aggression. General Stone established training camps where humans learned to direct their emotions through psychic networks. It was difficult and exhausting work. Many humans found it hard to maintain the necessary mental focus, while they struggled with concepts like anger and determination. "Think of it as protecting your family," Dr. Hayes suggested during one training session. "You're not trying to hurt anyone, you're trying to save lives." The breakthrough came when young Ben Carter, working with a child named Echo, successfully transmitted human protective instincts through the psychic network. For the first time in their history, they experienced human emotions. They felt the fierce love that makes parents fight for their children, the loyalty that makes soldiers die for their comrades, and the righteous anger that drives people to stand against injustice. "It's incredible," Zephyr told Dr. Hayes after experiencing human emotion for the first time. "You carry such intensity of feeling. No wonder you were willing to come so far to help strangers." As the preparations continued, something unexpected began happening. Other alien species started paying closer attention to the activities around the world. A warrior race known for their honor code sent observation ships. The Veil Collective, master engineers who rarely involved themselves in galactic affairs, began monitoring human communications. Even the ancient firstborn, mysterious beings who had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, turned their attention toward the small blue planet, whose people had done something unprecedented. Admiral stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiance, and watched the mixed fleet of human and ships conduct training exercises. Human tactical doctrine combined with energy manipulation was creating something entirely new. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Dozens of species are asking for updates on our preparations." "Any offers of help?" "Not yet, ma'am, but they're definitely interested in seeing what happens when the Devourers arrive." Nodded grimly. Humanity was about to be tested in front of the entire galaxy. They had 4 months to prove that sometimes the right thing to do was also the smart thing to do. The stakes couldn't be higher. If they failed, 2 civilizations would die, and the galaxy would learn that even humans could be destroyed by sufficient force. But if they succeeded, everything would change. The Devourer fleet appeared at the edge of the star system 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Admiral Kate watched from the bridge of the Defiance as her sensors tried to count the enemy ships. The numbers kept climbing until her tactical officer simply stopped counting. "How many?" she asked. "At least 300 vessels, Admiral. Some of them are larger than anything in our databases. The biggest one is nearly 50 miles long." Felt her stomach drop. The combined human and fleet had 28 ships. Even with their hybrid weapons and new tactics, the odds were hopeless. But she had not come this far to give up now. "Send word to General Stone on the surface. Tell him the Devourers are here early. Then contact Captain and get me a full status report on our defensive preparations." The enemy fleet moved slowly through the system, their dark ships seeming to bend space around them. As they approached, the largest vessel transmitted a message that reached every ship and every communication device in the system. "We are the central intelligence of the Devourer Collective. We have come to harvest this world as we have harvested thousands before. You have two choices. Surrender now and be absorbed into our collective consciousness, gaining immortality in exchange for your individual existence, or resist and be consumed along with all other organic matter on this planet." The voice was cold and mechanical, without any trace of emotion or mercy. It continued speaking in dozens of languages, including human languages it had somehow learned by analyzing their communications. "We know about the humans who have come to interfere. Your species is young and weak. You have no chance of victory. Join us willingly, and we will preserve your memories forever." Admiral opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral. You heard their offer. Anyone who wants to take it can leave now. I won't think less of you." No one moved. Not a single human or ship broke formation. "I thought so," said quietly. "All ships prepare for battle. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every species that will face these monsters in the future." The battle began badly. The Devourers attacked with weapons that seemed to ignore human shields and armor. Their energy beams cut through the hull of the cruiser Intrepid like it was made of paper. The ship exploded in seconds, taking 97 souls with it. Human plasma cannons fired back, but the Devourer ships repaired damage faster than it could be inflicted. Their hulls seemed to rebuild themselves automatically, using some kind of self-repairing metal that humans had never encountered. "Admiral, our conventional weapons aren't working," reported her tactical officer. "They're adapting to everything we throw at them. Switch to the hybrid weapons. Let's see how they handle something they've never seen before." The human ships began firing their new weapons, created by combining human technology with energy manipulation. Beams of focused energy, guided by psychic targeting systems, struck the Devourer vessels. For the first time, the enemy ships showed real damage. But the Central Intelligence was learning quickly. After losing 3 ships to the hybrid weapons, the remaining Devourers began adapting their defenses. The hybrid weapons became less effective with each shot. On the planet's surface, General Stone coordinated ground-based defenses as Devourer ships began deploying massive harvesting devices toward the planet. These devices looked like giant mechanical insects, designed to strip all organic matter from the surface. "Captain, we need those psychic amplifiers online now," Stone called over the communication network. Was working frantically with Zephyr and the other leaders in the main crystal chamber. They had discovered that by combining human emotions with psychic abilities, they could create weapons that existed partly in physical space and partly in the realm of thought. "We're ready to try," reported, "but this has never been tested on this scale. We don't know what will happen." "We're out of conventional options. Do it." Nodded to Dr. Hayes, who had spent weeks learning to channel human emotions through the psychic network. She placed her hands on the crystal controls and focused on everything she cared about: her family on Earth, her friends aboard the Aurora, the peaceful who had never hurt anyone, the billions of innocent lives throughout the galaxy who would die if the Devourers were not stopped here. The crystal chamber filled with light as human protective instincts flowed through the psychic network. For the first time in their history, every on the planet experienced the full force of human emotion. They felt love, determination, protective rage, and the absolute refusal to let evil triumph over good. The combined psychic energy reached into space and struck the Devourer fleet like an invisible hammer. Ships that had seemed invulnerable suddenly found their systems failing. The Central Intelligence, which had absorbed the knowledge of countless species, encountered something completely new and couldn't adapt fast enough. 5 devourer ships exploded as their mechanical minds were overwhelmed by concepts they couldn't process. The remaining ships began to retreat, but Admiral wasn't going to let them escape. All ships pursue the enemy, don't let them regroup. The human and fleet chased the retreating devourers, using their hybrid weapons and psychic amplifiers to devastating effect. But just as victory seemed possible, the Central Intelligence made a desperate decision. "If we cannot harvest this world, we will destroy it," the mechanical voice announced. "All organic life will be eliminated to prevent the spread of this new form of resistance." The largest devourer ship began charging a weapon that could crack the planet's surface. Readings showed it would fire in less than 10 minutes. There wasn't enough time to stop it with conventional attacks. Admiral made the hardest decision of her life. All ships form a defensive line between the enemy and the planet. We're going to block that shot with our own ships. "Admiral, that's suicide," her tactical officer protested. "Maybe, but it's also our job," opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is what we came here to do. We're going to stand between the innocent and those who would hurt them. If we die today, we die as heroes." One by one, the human ships moved into position between the planet killer weapon and the world. They knew they couldn't survive the blast, but they could absorb enough of it to save the planet. Captain's voice came over the communication system from the planet's surface. "Admiral, Dr. Hayes thinks she has one more option, something that might stop the weapon entirely, but it requires a sacrifice from all of us." "What kind of sacrifice?" "The kind that means we might not make it home, but everyone we're trying to save will live." Looked at her crew. They were young, brave, and far from home. They had families waiting for them on Earth, but they also understood what it meant to be human. "Tell us what you need, Captain. We didn't come this far to give up now." Captain stood in the crystal chamber with Dr. Hayes and Zephyr, watching the countdown to the planet killer weapon. 9 minutes and 30 seconds remained before the devourer ship would fire its weapon and crack the planet's surface like an egg. "Tell me about this plan," Admiral's voice crackled over the communication system from space. Dr. Hayes took a deep breath. "We can use the Aurora's quantum tunnel drive as a weapon. If we fly it directly into the largest devourer ship and activate the drive at close range, it will create a controlled singularity. The gravitational collapse will destroy their entire fleet." "What's the catch?" "Someone has to pilot the ship manually and activate the drive by hand. The gravitational forces will tear apart everything within several light years. There's no way to escape once the process starts." Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "I'll do it. My ship is already damaged. We can rig the Defiance's drive system." "No," said firmly. "The Aurora is my ship and my responsibility. Besides, it has the drive system. Our chances of success are better with it." Began walking toward the landing pad where the Aurora waited. Dr. Hayes grabbed his arm. "Captain, there might be another way. If we can boost the psychic amplifiers to maximum power, maybe we can disable their weapons without destroying the fleet. And if that doesn't work, billions of people die." Gently removed her hand from his arm. "This is the only way to be certain." As reached the Aurora, something unexpected happened. Ben Carter was already in the pilot's seat, running through the startup sequence. "Ben, what are you doing?" "Someone needs to fly this ship, and you're needed here to coordinate with the—" "I'm the best pilot we have left." "I'm not ordering you to do this." Ben smiled. "You're not ordering me, Captain. I'm volunteering. This is what humans do, right? We answer when people call for help." Before could respond, Amy appeared from the engineering section. "The drive is ready, Captain. I've set up a manual activation system. When Ben reaches the target, he just needs to press one button." Realized his crew had made this decision together. They understood the cost and were willing to pay it. Are you both certain about this? We came out here to explore and to represent the best of humanity, Amy said. Today we get to do both. The Aurora lifted off as the countdown reached 6 minutes. From space, Admiral's remaining ships formed a protective corridor, clearing a path through the Devourer defensive positions. Aurora, this is Admiral. We're going to give you the best escort we can manage. Make it count. Ben pushed the Aurora's engines to maximum power, racing toward the massive Devourer mothership. Enemy weapons fired at them from all directions, but the human fleet intercepted most of the shots. The ship shook and sparked as near misses overloaded their systems. 4 minutes remained when something incredible happened. Ships began appearing throughout the system, emerging from hyperspace in flashes of light. The warrior fleet arrived first, their battle-scarred vessels immediately engaging the smaller Devourer ships. "This is war leader of the Empire," a harsh voice announced. "Humans, you have shown honor beyond measure. We will fight beside you." More ships appeared. The elegant vessels of the Veil Collective, the crystal ships of the Resonance Alliance, even the mysterious dark ships of the Firstborn. Species that had ignored this call for help were now arriving to stand with humanity. "Humans of Earth," came another transmission. "This is Speaker of the Veil Collective. Your willingness to sacrifice for strangers has shamed us all. We will not let you face this alone." Admiral watched in amazement as over 100 alien ships joined the battle. "Ben, you've got the entire galaxy covering your approach. Don't waste this chance." The Aurora pushed through the enemy defenses with alien ships clearing the way. Ben could see the massive Devourer mothership growing larger on his screen. 3 minutes to weapon firing, 2 minutes to reach his target. In the crystal chamber, Dr. Hayes was working frantically with to boost their psychic amplifiers. "If we can hit them with a combined psychic pulse right when the Aurora explodes, we might be able to save Ben and Amy." Grab the communication controls. "Ben, when you reach the target, Dr. Hayes is going to try something. Hold off on the manual activation for 30 seconds after you arrive." "Understood, Captain. If it doesn't work, I'll finish the job." The Aurora reached the Devourer mothership with 1 minute left on the countdown. The massive vessel loomed in front of them like a dark mountain in space. Ben positioned the ship directly against the hull where their sensors showed the weapon's power core. "Now," Dr. Hayes shouted. Every on the planet focused their psychic energy through the crystal network, guided by human emotions and determination. The combined force reached across space and struck the Devourer fleet like a tsunami of pure thought. The Central Intelligence, which had processed the knowledge of countless species, suddenly encountered something it could not understand or absorb. Human concepts of sacrifice, love, and protection for strangers created a feedback loop in its mechanical mind. One by one, the Devourer ships began shutting down as their artificial intelligence systems crashed. The weapon countdown stopped at 15 seconds. But the psychic pulse had another effect. It created a temporary rift in space-time around the Aurora. Dr. Hayes and Ben Carter, working together from opposite ends of the psychic network, managed to teleport the ship and its crew back to the planet's surface just as the Devourer mothership lost power and began drifting helplessly in space. The battle was over. The Devourer fleet hung motionless in space, their mechanical minds crashed by concepts they could never understand. The Central Intelligence sent one final transmission before its systems failed completely. "We do not understand. Why did you risk everything for beings you had never met? This goes against all logical survival patterns." Admiral answered for all of humanity. "That's what makes us human. When someone calls for help, we answer. When someone needs protection, we provide it. That's not a weakness in our programming. It's our greatest strength." 3 months later, Captain stood on the bridge of the new Starship Guardian. watching representatives from 47 different species sign the Galactic Protection Alliance Charter. The document established a simple principle that would guide interstellar relations for generations to come. When any species faced extinction or called for help, the Alliance would answer. Dr. Hayes served as the Alliance's first advisor, studying the peaceful integration of dozens of different cultures. Ben Carter managed the galaxy-wide communication network that ensured no cry for help would ever go unheard again. The Devourer fleet had been transformed into research vessels, their artificial intelligence systems to preserve life instead of consuming it. Even the ancient enemy had found redemption through human compassion. On Earth, children looked up at the night sky with wonder and pride. Their older brothers and sisters were out there among the stars, not as conquerors or explorers, but as guardians. Humanity had answered when strangers called for help, and in doing so, they had earned their place as protectors of the innocent throughout the galaxy. The universe was vast and often dangerous, but it was no longer alone. Somewhere out there, humans were standing watch, ready to answer the call when darkness threatened the light.